Islamism is a dangerous ideology. It's actually a disease. It's a very dangerous ideology, and this ideology uses Islam for the political goals. They use Islam to form a government. They use Islam to politicize politicize their issues, and they use Islam to rebel against the governments, to uproot the governments. So this is actually a dangerous ideology, which is a challenge in today's time. And Islamism is all about seeking power using the name of Islam, and their whole objective is to get an upper hand and to challenge the governments, to uproot the governments. This is their whole objective. And one thing about them is they they won't be satisfied with any government. They won't be satisfied with any government. In fact, their predecessors, whom we Muslims call as Khawarij, in fact, in Saudi Arabia, the type of people who rebel against the governments are called as Khawarij in the Arabic terminology. They, in fact, assassinated the rulers and the kings and the caliphs of their time because they felt that they weren't actually ruling as per the definition of Islam. And most interesting thing about them, the Islamists, is that they work behind the flowery words like freedom, liberty, justice, and social cause.
Today, we are joined by a very special guest, all the way from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He specializes in anti-terrorism and anti-extremist studies, and we will be discussing precisely that. Please welcome Zahack Tanvir ji. Namaste, Zahack ji.
Thank you so much, Vaibhaviji. First of all, I'm really thankful to you for hosting me over this amazing show, and I look forward to have a beneficial discussion.
Likewise, Zahack ji. Let's start from the basics, Zahack ji. What exactly is Islamism and what are its objectives? Can you please explain the ideology to the uninitiated?
Sure, definitely. Uh, there's a huge difference between the religion of Islam and Islamism. Islam is actually a religion which believes in spirituality. It believes in Tawheed and Sunnah. It believes in monotheism. It believes in prayers, fasting, Hajj, and believing in God, believing in angels, believing in prophets, and the Day of Judgment. This is all about Islam. Whereas Islamism is a dangerous ideology. It's actually a disease. It's a very dangerous ideology, and this ideology uses Islam for the political goals. They use Islam to form a government. They use Islam to politicize their issues, and they use Islam to rebel against the governments, to uproot the governments. So this is actually a dangerous ideology, which is a challenge in today's time. And Islamism is all about seeking power using the name of Islam, and their whole objective is to get an upper hand and to challenge the governments, to uproot the governments. This is their whole objective. And one thing about them is they they won't be satisfied with any government. They won't be satisfied with any government. In fact, their predecessors, whom we Muslims call as Khawarij, in fact, in Saudi Arabia, the type of people who rebel against the governments are called as Khawarij in the Arabic terminology. They, in fact, assassinated the rulers and the kings and the caliphs of their time because they felt that they weren't actually ruling as per the definition of Islam. And most interesting thing about them, the Islamists, is that they work behind the flowery words like freedom, liberty, justice, and social cause. You'll be surprised to know that during the Prophet Muhammad's time, a person, his name was Dhul Qaisara, he stood up publicly against the Prophet and accused him of committing injustice. So Prophet warned everybody that among his children will be Khawarij, who will fight the authorities, who will fight the governments, who will accuse the governments, and they will cause corruption on land. In fact, he ordered his companions to deal with these type of people very firmly. And the main differentiating factor between the traditional Muslims and the Islamists is that Muslims believe that prophets were sent by God to connect people to Him, to call people towards His worship. This is what the traditional Muslims believe. While the Islamists preach this narrative, they push this narrative that the prophets came to rebel against the authorities. They came to rebel and establish their governments. This is what they preach. In fact, one of the famous Saudi scholars, his name is Sheikh Rabi al-Madkhali. He authored a book called as Manhaj al-Anbiya, and in his book, he explained the difference between the Islamists and the Muslims. An interesting thing here is Islamists have caused more damage to the Muslims and Islam in general. Their whole belief revolves around establishing caliphate, khilafah, and for this reason, the Sufi master in Egypt, his name was Hassan al-Banna, he formed Muslim Brotherhood in 1928, and later Sayyid Qutb, he took control of Al-Ikhwan, and this guy, Sayyid Qutb, was very dangerous. He was influenced by the Iran's Shia Islamists. He was influenced by the pre-independence Maududi's ideology, and he was also influenced by Hassan al-Banna. So eventually, he came up with a very dangerous cocktail. And from Jamaat Islami to Dr. Israr Ahmad, all these preachers, they have ignited the fire of Islamism in the Muslim world. So we can say that Khomeini, Hassan al-Banna, Sayyid Qutb, and Maududi, these are the five pillars of Islamism. And these are the people who have practiced, promoted, and preached Islamism in their lives. And because of their deeds, I would say because of their misdeeds, the whole Muslim world is suffering today.
That was very insightful and important information that had to be shared. Thank you for that. And related to the first question, could you explain the concept of Ghazwa-e-Hind? What is it? Where does it come from? And who is pursuing this agenda?
Ghazwa Hind is a very interesting topic. It's a very fascinating topic as well. There is a hadith of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Hadith means the saying or the actions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is recorded in the books. This is actually called as hadith. So there is a famous hadith which says that the fire of hell is um, is forbidden upon two groups of people. The first group of people is the one who will be fighting against the Antichrist or Dajjal under the leadership of Jesus Christ. This is the first group. The second group of people will be those who will be fighting in India, in Al Hind. Okay, so this is the famous narration attributed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and they say that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said this statement, and they try to push this narrative that Ghazwa Hind will gonna take place someday. Now, talking about the hadith, I won't be going in much details about the hadith sciences because even I'm not the student of hadith sciences, but I happened to watch a video of a Delhi-based Islamic scholar, Sheikh Muhammad Rahmani of Jamia Sanabil. He was attending a live discussion last week, I guess, so I happened to come across his video, and he explained in his video that the hadith of Ghazwa Hind is actually inauthentic and weak. It's not authentic. It's a daif hadith. It's a weak hadith. Uh, I won't be telling you about what is exactly the Sahih hadith or daif hadith. It would be very much boring, but I would tell you that the hadiths are of three types: Sahih, Hasan, and daif. So Sahih hadith is the one which comes directly from Prophet Muhammad to you with all the chain of narrators to be authentic. Daif hadith is the one which comes from the Prophet Muhammad to you, and some of the chain of narrators are dubious, and the liars or some of the chain of narrators would be missing. So this scholar, this Islamic scholar from Delhi, he said that the hadith which speaks about Ghazwa Hind is actually daif or weak hadith. Okay, so if anyone challenges that no it's authentic and it's gonna take place someday and the Ghazwa Hind will gonna happen, So some of the historians they have argued and they have said that Ghazwa Hind has already taken place, and there will be no more Ghazwa Hind. This is what they say. They say that when Muhammad bin Qasim he came through Khyber Pass to India with 4,000 troops. So he came there, and then he went back. So they say that this was actually Ghazwa Hind. It took place. It's over. It's khalas. It's no more Ghazwa Hind now. So this is what they say. And now the interesting thing is who is actually pushing this narrative of Ghazwa Hind? Obviously Pakistan, and they have their own political goal against India. To be honest, it's my view that Pakistan cannot confront India economically. Pakistan cannot fight India militarily. Pakistan cannot challenge India in IT industry, in all other industries. So obviously, Pakistan survives on such vile propaganda that someday we're gonna attack India and Ghazwa Hind will gonna take place and we're gonna rule India and this and that. And interestingly, some of the fringe elements in Pakistan, they use the Maulanas or the Islamic scholars like Israr Ahmad. Israr Ahmad was a very radical and problematic preacher in Pakistan. In fact, his YouTube channel was removed recently by the YouTube management because the Jewish community complained about Israr Ahmad that Faisal Akram, who attacked the Texas synagogue, he was radicalized by Israr Ahmad. So Israr Ahmad from Pakistan was a very problematic preacher. He passed away long ago, but his video on Ghazwa Hind is very famous. And let me tell you something really interesting. India's Rana Ayub, okay, Rana Ayub, she tweeted during Ramadan 4 a.m. at the Ayubs, which means she was actually flaunting about watching Israr Ahmad's lecture in her house at 4 a.m. at the night during Ramadan. Anyway, Israr Ahmad was the one who promoted this idea of Ghazwa Hind to another level, and he said that Taliban will re-establish itself, and Taliban will align with Pakistan, and Taliban and Pakistan will attack India. So this is all, I believe, it's all nonsense. First of all, the Hadith, which states that Ghazwa Hind will gonna take place, according to the Delhi-based scholar, the Hadith itself is weak; it's not authentic. Second thing is that even if you agree that the Ghazwa Hind will gonna take place, some of the historians challenged it and said that Ghazwa Hind has already taken place and there will be no more Ghazwa Hind. And third thing is that this narrative is promoted and pushed by the Pakistani agencies and the Pakistani preachers to make people hate India and to make people attack India.
Once again, very informative inputs from you, which would certainly help in clearing a lot of misunderstandings that are unfortunately widespread today.
Thank you.
To add on to that, since you had mentioned using media to spread inauthentic information, now there are many people who cannot get their heads around the fact that Islamists who are intent on making India an Islamic state co-opt politicians, media, academia, and civil society to fulfill their agenda. For such people, they still think that it is just a conspiracy theory. They do not understand the nexus of vested interests working hand in hand, hand in glove with Islamists to make India an Islamic state. So, for those people, for such people, can you give specific examples and evidence to help them understand the reality, the extent of what is happening? I say so because people really do not this, believe that the media, academia, and politicians, they believe that there is no link, that there is no agenda. They just think it's a conspiracy theory and they brush it off. So, any examples that you have to cite the opposite?
That's quite interesting question. I would say that this would be one of the biggest mistakes ever if you believe that Islamism is a conspiracy theory. This is a bitter fact. I would say if you turn a blind eye to it, then you would face a situation where eliminating Islamists from the political circles will be impossible, next to impossible, like how it is happening right now in Europe today. Today, Europe is frustrated with the radical ideology of the Islamists, but unfortunately, they cannot get rid of it because it was Europe who gave refuge to the Islamists under the garb of freedom of speech and liberty. They accused the Arab governments, and they actually called the Arab governments to be barbaric for attacking their own citizens. But they did not realize that these people who came running from the Arab countries to the European nations, these people were the problematic people. So they gave them the red carpet, and today they want to get rid of it, and they cannot get rid of it. So Muslim Brotherhood, interesting thing here is Muslim Brotherhood, it actually started in Egypt, but it's no more in Egypt today, no more in Saudi Arabia, no more in UAE, no more in Bahrain. They're all banned. Egypt, Muslim Brotherhood doesn't exist in the Middle East today. But interestingly, they exist in the Western countries, especially in UK, in Canada, in US. And interesting thing here is they have also taken, lobbying position in Washington D.C. They occupy lobbying position in Washington D.C. This is quite problematic. So the first thing they do, the Muslim Brotherhood, the first thing they do is they penetrate into the universities, they penetrate into the media, and from there they level up and they lobby with the politicians. So when they came to seek refuge in Saudi Arabia during the time of King Faisal, rahimahullah, when they came to Saudi Arabia, they were exiled from Egypt. So King Faisal felt that these people are poor, innocent people, so he gave them refuge in Jeddah. So they came and settled down in Jeddah since they were well educated and they had degrees in, engineering in medicine. So King Faisal, they told them to teach in the universities, in the colleges, and they penetrated into the universities. And during the Arab Spring, Saudi Arabia realized that it was a mistake to give them refuge in Saudi Arabia because they backstab you. They spit on the hand which feeds you. This is what the Islamists do. Okay, and we should thank the current Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and the King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. We should thank them because they have carried out blanket ban against Islamists and the Muslim Brotherhood without any if and without any but. Even in India today, the white collar Islamists have infiltrated into educational institutes, and their nexus is very huge. Their nexus is really very, very huge. The socialists, the communists, and all these leftist groups warmly collaborate with the Islamists. And the interesting thing is, Islamists believe in the supremacy of Islam, while communists don't believe in any religion. Yet they collaborate because both of them carry the same anti establishment and anti state behavior, anti state attitude. Because of this, the Islamists and the socialists, the communists and the leftists, all of them, they collaborate against the state. And we need to also look at who are actually joining the Islamists or the leftists. The frustrated youth, the jobless youth. There are a lot of frustrated and jobless youth in our country who are frustrated with their own lives. Some are frustrated with their sexual life. Some are frustrated with their economical life. Some are frustrated with their jobs, and some are frustrated with their families. So they want to vent out this frustration to against whom they're gonna do this. So obviously they'll be blaming. They need someone to blame their frustration. They need someone to pin their frustration upon. So the leftists and the communists and the Islamists, they use and exploit this frustration. And they say that, you know, you're frustrated because of the government. You're frustrated because of Modi. You're frustrated because of the Arab governments. You're frustrated because no one is helping you. So we're gonna help you. Come join us. This is how they recruit the frustrated youth. And we have one such example from the Arab Spring, which took place in 2011, and this is one of the worst examples in the human history. The alliance between the left and the Islamists. It took place under the Obama administration, and the hardcore Islamists were handpicked, and the radical terrorists were handpicked by the Obama administration from Libya, from Syria. They were all handpicked, and they were mobilized, and they were used by Obama and Hillary Clinton to dethrone the Arab governments. And when the work was done, when the work was over, they left the countries in the hands of terrorists and the private militias. And you see today what is the outcome of these of these protests. What is the outcome of this? Syria is the example, Libya is the example, Tunisia is the example, Morocco is the example. Anyway, Morocco and Tunisia, they try to come out of that nightmare of Arab Spring, but still the scars are left on their history. And interestingly, the Arab Spring, when it was taking place, the left media and the politicians and all these big shots, they were supporting the Arab Spring. And it all went into the drain today, and a lot of human lives were lost, and a lot of children lost their parents, and a lot of people who used to live in mansions are now living in the refugee camps. So this is what the left and the Islamists have to give you. And if you ignore it, and if you say that no, 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 it's all conspiracy theory, then you'll be living in a la la land.
That was an eye opener, Zahack. And I hope this is taken up by these youth, these impressionable youth,
I
and
wish,
that
I wish.
they steer back on the right path from wherever they are heading to right now before it's too late. Zahidji, moving on to the next question.
Mhm.
Anybody who truly understands Hindutva knows that it is a worldview which is centered on compassion and brotherhood. However, it also does not tolerate terrorism and supremacism. How would you explain to our Muslim brothers and sisters, most of all the young, impressionable ones, that no political force in Indian history has ever done more to dignify and uplift the Muslim community than the current dispensation led by Prime Minister Modi ji, and that fighting Islamism, if anything, is good for our Muslim youth and the progress of the Muslim community as a whole? How would you explain that to them?
Yeah, the first thing about Hindutva, I would say when talking about Hindutva, most of us are confused. Even I was confused some years ago about Hindutva. Okay, and I would say one of the major reasons why people are confused, whether it's Hindutva or Zionism or Salafism, anything, why people are confused is because of the left-dominated media. Okay, the left-dominated media, they have come up with multiple twisted definitions to attack their counterparts. And it's a very popular narrative that Hinduism, they try to separate Hinduism and Hindutva, and they say that Hinduism is all about brotherhood and compassion, while Hindutva is a dividing force. It's something which will make everybody slave. So this is what they say. In this case, what I believe, and I would suggest that it's the responsibility of the right-minded and sound-minded Hindus to come forward, and they should clear this definition, and they should tell the world that Hindutva is not what the left wing and the Islamists have painted with. And you need to collaborate with the moderate religious preachers and the religious leaders, and we should understand each other and build confidence. And this collaboration should take place based on ideology, not based on political grounds. And you need to explain the objectives and the policies of Hindutva, the way you have asked the question and the way you have told me that Hindutva is about compassion and coexistence and pluralism. So you need to explain this. This voice should be loud, and you need to explain this, the objectives and the policies, and how they're gonna how they're gonna deal with the other communities, because there is a lot of confusion, and usually the media tell us that Hindutva will be making you slaves, Hindutva will not be tolerating you, Hindutva will be pushing you into the Indian Ocean, Hindutva will be sending you to Pakistan. So there are a lot of bad narratives, popularized by the certain media organizations or the groups for their ulterior agenda. So you have to come forward to clear this off. And I advise the Muslim youth and Muslims too that we need to talk, we need to learn, we need to interact. Okay, if somebody tells us about Zionism, even I was under impression that Zionism, the Israeli Zionism, it's all about, um, you know, like, it's a power, it's a secret force, and it's all about Illuminati, it's about Freemasonry, it's about this and it's about that. So I had a lot of bad impression about Zionism, but after this Abraham Accords, which took place between UAE and Israel and Bahrain and Israel, I started reading and understanding about Zionism, and I came to know that Zionism is about the right to exist. It's about the Jewish right to exist in Israel, as we believe that Palestinians also have the right to exist in Palestine. The Jewish people believe that they have the right to exist in Israel. So there is nothing wrong if somebody believes that the Jewish people have the right to live in Israel. So it's about Zionism. It's only a concept. In the same way, Hindutva is also a concept which needs to be clarified. This is what I believe, which I personally believe. Regarding the second part of your question, Prime Minister Modi ji has been fighting against Islamism. Yes, we have seen in the recent past what his government dealt uh, has done to PFI, and in fact, an year ago, the PFI was banned. As I mentioned the name of a Muslim scholar earlier, Sheikh Muhammad Rahmani, he was speaking about PFI in Hubli and he was warning Muslims against PFI. And there were voices in India to ban PFI. And some of the people, they said that it's not possible for Modi to ban PFI, but we have seen that the ban was taken place. We have seen that more than 100 PFI members were arrested overnight, and then um, after a week or so, PFI was banned, and nobody could challenge. Nobody could challenge. Nobody could say that no, it was not the right decision. Yes, some of the voices, some of the opponents, they try to delegitimize it, and they say that what Modi did was not correct. But we have to really appreciate. In fact, I wrote an article in News 18 and First Post appreciating this effort. We need to appreciate the effort, whoever is in the government. We need to appreciate this effort, that they are dealing with Islamism and extremism in a very solid way. And in fact, I believe that the counterterrorism agencies or the counter-extremism agencies should uh, should research or should study this model. you know Overnight they have arrested more than 100 people, and after a week the whole organization was banned, their finances were banned, their bank accounts were freezed. And so this has to be studied. So yes, we should appreciate this.
It was a very sound opinion, Zahid, which again needs to be shared, which again needs to reach many people. Now, with you in particular, it is evident that you are passionate about educating Muslims about extremism. So, to conclude this section on Islamism, what is your message to our Muslim brothers and sisters, especially the Muslim youth around the world?
uh, See, when I meet Muslims, when I meet my friends, my old relatives, they fire a lot of questions at me. And as I told you, that a lot of people are confused due to the media narratives. So they ask me questions like, should we keep quiet? Should we be just watching, sitting and watching? Should we not be raising our voice? Should we not be doing this? Should we not be doing that? So I tell them that, we need to work with patience. We need to work with forbearance. We need to work with far vision. We cannot be played at the hands of the extremists. Most of these extremist groups and these extremist organizations, usually what they do is they try to magnify the problems you face, and they say that your government is doing nothing to tackle this problem, and your own Muslim community leaders are doing nothing to tackle this problem, and your Muslim governments are doing nothing to tackle this problem. So we are here to help you out, and we are here to be on your side, and we will be leading you, and we will together be defeating the fascist forces. So this is what they try to say. So I tell them that, look, we cannot actually tackle the situation with aggressive attitude. We cannot tackle the situation with the anti-state attitude. We cannot tackle the situation by, inciting people against the establishment. We cannot tackle the situation by inciting people against the government. This is this is a very irrational approach. So let's not talk about the political parties, but um, as I believe that it's your wish to vote whoever you want. But you should work with the establishment. You should work with the state. You should collaborate with the different communities. You should hold discussion with the people from Hindutva, people from Zionism. You should speak to them. You should talk to them. You should understand what they're up to. And in fact, I tell Muslims that this is the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to talk, to negotiate, to discuss, to understand. During the Battle of Uhud, the second battle of Islam, there were Jewish soldiers in the Prophet's army. And Jewish people, they don't believe in the Prophet, but still they were in the Prophet's army. So we should understand the way he negotiated with those people, the way he formed an alliance with those people. He didn't just outcast them, he took them in his own army. So we should understand this thing. We should understand that the situation cannot be handled just by the aggressive behavior. We should, you know, hold discussion and dialogue. This is all we should do. And at the same time, I would suggest the Muslims to connect with the traditional Muslim scholars, the traditional Muslim ulama, and stay away from the Islamists, and stay away from the Maulanas or the social media heroes. Just stay away from them. I would give an example of Khalid Bedun. Okay, I watch him on Twitter, Khalid Bedun. He is a staunch Ikhwani, and he has been pushing this anti-India narrative. And I suggest the Muslims of India to stay away from him. I would suggest the Indian Muslims to stay away from people like C.G. Roman. I suggest them to stay away from the people like Rana Ayub, and to stay away from people like Omar Khalid. Just stay away from them. You don't need them. You don't need them. They thrive on your problems. So stay away from them and connect with your local scholars, connect with your local politicians, connect with your local leaders, and hold dialogue with the counterparts, hold dialogues with the Hindus, hold dialogues with the Christians and the Jains and the Buddhists and people from different faith and communities, and the Muslims and everybody in India should work for a united Indian nation.
That was very nicely put and very rightfully said, Zahakji. Thank you for that. Moving on from that subject, there has been this turnaround, a remarkable turnaround in the relations between India and the Islamic nation since the ascent of Prime Minister Modi ji. Saudi Arabia and the UAE in particular are closer to India than they've ever been, including at the highest levels of leadership. What do you put this down to, Zahakji?
Uh, See, India's historical ties with the Arab nations date back more than 5,000 years to trading between the ancient civilizations of the Indus Valley and the Dilmun. The place where I live, Dammam, it's about 60 kilometers away from Bahrain, and Bahrain used to be the place where Dilmun civilization existed. So the Arab merchants, the traders, the religious men would would traverse through the uh, great oceans to reach the coasts of India to enjoy the business friendly market in India. Even today, Indian market is very business friendly, and India leads in startups. So India used to be the same 5,000 years ago. So a lot of people from Arab countries would travel to India, and they would love the culturally rich atmosphere, and they would love the welcoming society. Even India today is a very welcoming. So, in fact, I would say the early companions of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, they landed in Gujarat, in Goga, and this is a very fascinating thing. They landed in Gujarat in around 7th century, and they built the Barwada Mosque, and this mosque still exists in Gujarat. And the direction of the Qibla, what you call as the direction of prayers, we Muslims we usually face Kaaba, Mecca, while praying. So before Mecca, it was Jerusalem in Palestine. We used to face Jerusalem to pray, and later it was changed to Mecca. So the mosque in Barwada in Gujarat has the direction facing to Jerusalem. So you can understand the connection between the Arab countries and India. And I would say that after PM Modi he came to power, he shaped this relationship, and he gave a new direction. And we should appreciate that. We should really appreciate that. In fact, some of these significant steps were carried out by India and Saudi Arabia, I would say, for the past 7, 8 years. In August 2015, I believe, UAE was the first Gulf country PM Modi visited. Um, and it is said that it marked as the first visit by the Indian Prime Minister to the UAE for 34 years. And both the nations, the India and UAE, they signed a lot of deals in infrastructure development, in development of ports, airports, highways, construction, and petrochemical projects. So they signed a lot of deals. In Feb 2019, PM Modi broke the protocol to receive Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And Mohammed bin Salman, when he visited India in 2019, he called Modi as his elder brother, and he said that I'm his younger brother, and I admire him. And in Feb 2022, Saudi Land Forces Commander General Fahad bin Abdullah, he made a historical visit to India, and now it's in the news, all over in the news, that Saudi Arabia's energy minister, Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman, will pay high-level visit to India, and he will be meeting petroleum minister and power minister and commerce minister in India. And I believe a month ago, when Foreign Minister of India, His Excellency Subramaniam Jaishankar, when he visited Saudi Arabia, he had a one-to-one, face-to-face meeting with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman for 45 minutes. And it's said that this doesn't actually happen with the foreign. I mean, the foreign minister doesn't actually speak to the head of the state, but this happened between the Indian foreign minister and the Saudi crown prince. So this shows the change in the relationship between India and Saudi Arabia, which is taking place under the leadership of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Indian PM Modi.
So there's some very positive, positively influencing insights that we received from you.
Thank you.
You would actually call them as wholesome in Gen Z language. Thank you for those. Now, we learned recently of a new Hindu temple that was opened in the UAE. Before we go ahead, let me extend on behalf of all Indians and all of us here at Chitti our heartfelt gratitude to the Gulf countries for their graciousness and generosity of spirit. Now, our audience, Sahakji, would love to know more about the Hindu temples being built in the Gulf. Can you tell us more about them?
Uh, well, Hindus have been living in UAE, I believe, for the past 70 years. Uh, the first in 1958, UAE they gave the permission to build a Hindu temple in 1958, and later it became a foreign policy issue after PM Modi came into power. So it's the UAE's Emirates' sovereign decision to allow the construction of temples, churches, and synagogues. It's their way of dealing with the people of multiple faith. It's their way of accommodating the people of different faith and religions. In fact, I remember they also built Jewish Sukkot, I mean Jewish hut during the week-long Jewish festival of Sukkot, right under the Burj Al Khalifa. They built it, and in fact, they are also building um, uh, multi-faith place where the people of all faith will be gathered. So this is their way. This is their way of accommodating people of different faith, different religions, and and attracting them to UAE. This is their sovereign right of doing the things. Apart from that, uh, one thing which we need to know that what's the Islamic stance over the existing places of worship in the Muslim lands, in the Muslim countries. We can see the example in the life of Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second caliph of Islam, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala, and we can see the example in his life when he took control of Jerusalem, Palestine. The Christian pastor, he offered him the keys of the oldest church, and he asked him to. He just told that you are the king now, you are the ruler now, so you can pray inside the church. But Umar ibn al-Khattab, he refused and he went out of the church to pray. And he said that if I ever pray inside a church or any worship place, then this will be a very bad example by the people to come after me. So they will be vandalizing the churches or temples or any other place, and they would be just going there and praying. So this is how the early Muslim rulers dealt with the non-Muslims in their countries, and they didn't trouble them, and they didn't you know forbade them. So UAE is doing something on this line.
Those are again very informative inputs from you. Thank you for that. Moving on from the UAE to Saudi Arabia, we have considerable respect for the good work and visionary leadership Mohammed bin Salman Al Saudi is and the work that he's doing for the kingdom and its people. Can you please tell our viewers around the world what is his vision for Saudi Arabia and also for the India Saudi Arabia partnership?
Uh, you know the way you admire Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, even I admire him a lot. In fact, he is 6 months older than me, so I can sense and feel the energy he is possessed with. He is doing an incredible job in bringing all positive changes in the kingdom, from economy to women empowerment. He's hailed for his optimistic attitude. And top of that, he's committed to fighting extremism and terrorism. And in fact, he has changed the way the world used to look at Saudi Arabia. He has changed the way the world used to talk about Saudi Arabia. In fact, in October 2016, he pledged that he would bring back the moderate Islam, which was before 1979, the Islam as a religion, not as a political force. His Vision 2030 is something that is really commendable, and his vision for his country and his people is admirable. About the India-Saudi partnership, what you're talking about, I would say that Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund (PFI) is doing great, and its chief Yasser Al Suwayan is one of the board members of Reliance in India. The top and brainy businessmen of India are strategically collaborating with the Saudis, and the Saudis are also collaborating with the Indians. And I believe Saudi Arabia and India will pursue an eternal relationship. And regarding building the bridges and strengthening this Saudi and India partnership, I would suggest I would suggest that if India can invite Muslim World League's chief Muhammad Al Isa to places like Kerala, to places like Mumbai, Delhi, and let him meet and interact with top Hindu leaders to top Indian leaders. Okay, let him interact with them. This will be a very positive change. In fact, India's Hindu guru, Sadhguru, was invited to Riyadh by Muhammad Ali Isa. So this happened in Saudi Arabia, and I would suggest that India should also invite Muhammad Ali Isa.
Very rightfully said, Zahaji. Um, Zahack ji, it has been such a delight having you here on Chitti for this conversation. Before we end, a couple of final questions. What is your message to the Indian people from Saudi Arabia? And equally, what is your message to our Saudi brothers and sisters about India?
Um, my message for the Indian people from Saudi Arabia is um, you have a great friend and a great ally in Saudi Arabia, and Indians should visit Saudi Arabia. You should interact with the people here in Saudi Arabia. You should visit the places like Riyadh. You should witness places like Neom. You should see Al Ula, and you should visit Al Abha, and you should come and you should connect with the people. The leaders are connected. The leaders are friends. The leaders call each other as brother. But the Indians should come here to Saudi Arabia and interact with the Saudis. And at the same time, a message to the Saudis is that the Indian people admire you a lot. Indians respect you a lot, and Indians have a special place in their heart for Saudi Arabia and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. So Saudis should also visit India. They should visit Kerala. They should visit Delhi. They should visit Agra. They should visit Shimla. And the Saudis should visit India's top universities and top research centers. They should visit IIT. They should visit, IIM. They should visit the top universities in India. So my message to the Saudi friends and the Indian friends is that the leaders are friends. Now the people to people connection should also happen.
It was very, very nicely put, Zahack ji. It was to the point, especially the ending sentence, the ending statement. That is the most important. The leaders are
Thank you.
already friends. Now it's up to us. Very nicely put.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. It was really my pleasure talking to you, Vaibhavinayak, and I really enjoyed the discussion.
Likewise. Thank you for joining us. It was indeed a pleasure hosting you, and we look forward to more such conversations.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.